Welcome to online CT class. Today's class we will discuss MCQs on heat and thermodynamics. So first one, Fahrenheit and Kelvin scales of temperature will give same reading at -40, 330, 574.25, 732.75. So we know the relation between Fahrenheit and Celsius scale. So F minus 32 divided by 180, that should be equal to C minus 273. They have given Kelvin scale divided by 100. So our intention is both of them should be equal. Let F is equal to C is equal to some x. So both are given to be equal. Find x. So x minus 32 divided by 180 is equal to x minus 273 divided by 100. So simplify this. 25 is a 29 is a cross multiply. 5x minus 160 is equal to 9x minus 273 into 9. So it will be 2457. So you can take this as 273 into 10 minus 1. 273 into 10 is 2730 minus 273, that will give you 2457. So send this to this side, send this negative term to left hand side. So 2457 minus 160 will be 2297, that is equal to 4x. So x is equal to 2297 divided by 4, that is equal to 574.25. So 574.25 Kelvin is equal to 574.25 Fahrenheit. So that is option C. Okay, we shall move on to next one. The temperature coefficient of resistance of wire is 12.5 into 10 power minus 4 per degree Celsius. At 300 Kelvin, the resistance of the wire is 1 ohm. The resistance will be 2 ohm at. So resistance has to be 2 ohm. At what temperature it will be 2 ohm? That is what they are asking. So it is given at 300 Kelvin, it is 1 ohm. So let us say resistance at 0 degree Celsius is R naught, then resistance at T degree Celsius is given by R naught into 1 plus alpha into T, where T is temperature in degree Celsius. So initially the resistance is going to be 1 ohm at 300 Kelvin. 300 Kelvin is equal to 27 degree Celsius. So that should be R naught into 1 plus 27 alpha. This is for the first case. For the second case, let us say it becomes 2 ohm at some T degree Celsius. So it will be T alpha. So this is what we will get. Now divide these two. What do we get? R naught get cancelled. So you get 1 by 2 is equal to 1 plus 27 alpha divided by 1 plus T alpha. So cross multiply, you will get 1 plus T alpha is equal to 2 plus 54 alpha we need to calculate T. So T alpha is equal to 1 plus 54 alpha. So T is equal to 1 by alpha plus 54. So alpha value is given, just substitute. So 1 divided by alpha is 12.5 into 10 to the power minus 4 temperature coefficient of resistance plus 54. So 10 power 4 comes to numerator, it will become 10,000. So 10,000 divided by 12.5. So it will be 800 plus 54. So that is equal to 854 degree Celsius. So this option is not there, they have given it in Kelvin, convert it to Kelvin. So 854 plus 273 Kelvin, that is 1127 Kelvin. That is option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. Two thermometers X and Y have ice points marked at 15 degrees and 25 degrees and steam points marked at 75 degree and 125 degree respectively. When the thermometer X measures the temperature of bath as 60 degrees on it, what would thermometer Y read when it is used to measure the temperature of the same bath? So two different thermometers with different lower fixed point and upper fixed points. So ice points are marked at 15 and 25, steam points are marked at 75 and 125. So we know that X minus LFP divided by UFP minus LFP is equal to Y minus LFP divided by UFP minus LFP. So this is the formula. LFP and UFP are different on both the sides. So they have given the temperature measured by X is 60 degrees, lower fixed point is 15 degree, upper fixed point is 75 degree, lower fixed point is 15. That should be equal to Y. We have to find lower fixed point is 25, this is 125 minus 25. So this turns out to be 45 by 60 is equal to Y minus 25 divided by 100. So 23 is a 25 is a, so 45 5 is a 225 divided by 3, that is equal to Y minus 25. So 225 by 3 is 75 is equal to Y minus 25. So Y is equal to 100 degrees. That is option C. We shall move on to next one. Two rods of lengths L1 and L2 are made of materials whose coefficients of linear expansion are alpha 1 and alpha 2. If the difference between the two lengths is independent of temperature, then what is the relation between L and alphas? So if difference in the length is same, at any temperature expansion of the first rod delta L1 should be equal to expansion of the second rod delta L2. So this should be L1 alpha 1 delta theta, that should be equal to L2 alpha 2 delta theta. So delta theta gets cancelled. So L1 by L2 is equal to alpha 2 by alpha 1. That should be option B. Okay, we shall move on to next one. An iron tire is to be fitted onto wooden wheel 1 meter in diameter. Diameter of the tire is 6 mm smaller than that of the wheel. Tire should be heated so that its temperature increases by minimum of given coefficient of volume expansion of iron is 3.6 into 10 to the power minus 5 per degree Celsius. See, they have given volume expansion coefficient, that means it is gamma. So we have to find alpha and then calculate it. So gamma is equal to 3.6 into 10 to the power minus 5. So alpha should be equal to gamma by 3, that should be equal to 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 5 per degree Celsius. This is it. Now what they have given is diameter is 6 mm less than the required, or diameter to be fitted is 1 meter. So 6 mm less means 6 mm less than 1 meter is the diameter. So you have to calculate the temperature to which it should be heated. So D is equal to or we can write delta D is equal to d alpha delta theta. Delta theta is rise in temperature. So delta D is what? You should increase it by 6 mm, that is 6 into 10 power minus 3. That should be equal to, this is less than a meter by 6 mm, that should be 0.994 meters into alpha is 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 5 into delta theta. So delta theta is equal to 6 into 10 to the power minus 3 divided by 0.994 into 1.2 into 10 power minus 5. So this will be, if I take this to numerator, it will be 100. So 600 by 1.2, 500 divided by 0.994. 0.994 is approximately 1. So roughly it is 500 degree Celsius. This should be the rise in temperature. So rise in temperature should be 500. So again that is option C. Yes, we'll move on to next one. A rectangular block is heated from 0 degree Celsius to 100 degree Celsius. Percentage increase in its length is 0.1%. What will be the percentage increase in its volume? So delta L by L is equal to 0.1%. Then delta V by V should be 3 times delta L by L, that should be 0.3%. That should be option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Coefficients of apparent expansion of a liquid when determined using two different vessels A and B are gamma 1 and gamma 2 respectively. If the coefficient of linear expansion of vessel A is alpha and coefficient of linear expansion of B is, we have to find coefficient of linear expansion of B. So, we know that gamma real is equal to gamma apparent plus gamma of vessel. So, gamma of vessel is given to be 3 alpha, linear expansion is alpha, so gamma should be 3 alpha. So, for vessel A, gamma real is equal to gamma 1 plus 3 alpha. For vessel B, gamma real is equal to gamma 2 plus 3 alpha B. So, from this gamma 1 plus 3 alpha should be equal to gamma 2 plus 3 alpha B. So, solve for alpha B from this. Gamma 1 minus gamma 2 plus 3 alpha is equal to 3 alpha B. So, alpha B is equal to gamma 1 minus gamma 2 divided by 3 plus alpha. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A uniform solid brass sphere is rotating with a speed of omega naught about a diameter. If its temperature is now increased by 100 degrees, what will be its new angular speed? Given alpha of brass is 2 into 10 power minus 5 per degree Celsius. Now, here we have to apply conservation of angular momentum. I1 omega 1 should be equal to I2 omega 2. So, when you heat the sphere, its radius increases. So, because of that, its moment of inertia increases. So, when moment of inertia increases, the value of omega should decrease. So, that is what angular momentum conservation says. So, from this we can write omega 2 is equal to I1 by I2 into omega 1. Now, substitute that here. Omega 2 is equal to original, it is a sphere, about a diameter for sphere, original moment of inertia is 5 by 2 mr square. Notice one thing, on heating the mass will not change. So, shape is also not changed, it remains as sphere only. So, what happens? this will be 2 by 5 m. R will become a little more than this, so it will be R plus or R into 1 plus alpha delta theta, this whole square into omega 1. So omega 1 is given as omega naught, so that will be 2 by 5 m, 2 by 5 m get cancelled. So we will be left with R square divided by, this will be R square into 1 plus, see alpha will be very small, generally 10 power minus 5, so I can use binomial approximation, it will become 1 plus 2 alpha delta theta. You can multiply the power to second term into omega naught. Now R square also get cancelled. Now substitute for rest of the things, 1 plus 2 into 10 to the power minus 5 into 100 to omega naught. So that's equal to omega naught divided by 2 to the 4 into 10 power minus 3, that is 1.003, that turns out to be 0.996 omega naught. So there is a slight decrease in angular velocity. That is option C. Yes, we'll move on to next one. A bimetallic is made of two strips A and B having coefficients of linear expansion alpha A and alpha B. If alpha A is less than alpha B, then on heating the strip will bend with A on outer side, bend with B on outer side, not bend at all, none of the above. See, bimetallic strip means this is one metal, let us say this is A. Let us take one more metal, this is metal B. Now when you heat this, it bends because of differential expansion, they are joined, so it has to bend. When it bends, it will bend such that whichever has greater value of alpha, that will expand more, so that will expand more. So we will just choose this. So let us say it bends this way, don't know whether it bends towards right or left. Now it is a bimetallic strip, this is one metal, this is another metal. Now this length is obviously greater than this because it is outer circle, this is inner circle. So because of this, this should have greater value of alpha. So greater value of alpha is for B, so the outer one should be B, inner one should be A. So it will bend with B on outer side, that is option B. Must be B. We shall move on to next one. The temperature of a gas contained in a closed vessel of constant volume increases by 1 degree Celsius when the pressure of the gas is increased by 1%. The initial temperature of the gas is. So what I have given is temperature of the gas in a closed vessel of constant volume increases by 1 degrees when pressure increases by 1%. Then what is the initial temperature of the gas? So the process takes place at constant volume condition. So condition is constant volume. So because of this, P should be directly proportional to temperature. So P by T should be equal to constant. Or you can write P1 by P2 should be equal to T1 by T2. Now, in the given situation, P1 is P, P2 is 1% more than P, that is 0.01 P. This is additional term. That should be equal to T1 is T, temperature increases by T plus 1. So, we need to find the value of T. So, this will be P divided by 1.01 P is equal to T divided by T plus 1. So, P get cancelled, cross multiply, T plus 1 is equal to 1.01 T. So, send this to this side, 1 is equal to 0.01 T. So, T is equal to 100. Degree Celsius. They only have when it is in degree Celsius. So, it should be option C. Oh, this is in Kelvin. Whenever you are using this, should be in Kelvin. So, it should not be degree Celsius, it should be in 100 Kelvin. So, whenever you are using this, temperature is in Kelvin only. So, it should be option A, not C, it should be A. Remember, all gas laws are valid only for Kelvin temperature. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Which of the following is not a thermodynamic coordinate? Gas constant, pressure, volume, temperature. So, pressure, volume and temperature, they are variables. So, they are thermodynamic coordinates. Gas constant is a constant, it is not a thermodynamic coordinate. So, it should be option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Coefficient of superficial expansion of solid is 2 into 10 power minus 2 minus 5 per degree Celsius. Coefficient of linear expansion is. So, what they have given this as is beta. So, we know that beta is equal to 2 alpha. We need to find coefficient of linear expansion, that means alpha you have to find. So, we know that alpha is equal to beta by 2. So, that will be 1 into 10 power minus 5 per degree Celsius. That should be option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Two cylinders A and B fitted with pistons contain equal amounts of an ideal diatomic gas at 300 Kelvin. The piston of A is free to move while that of B is held fixed. The same amount of heat is given to the gas in each cylinder. If the rise in temperature of gas in A is 30 Kelvin, then rise in temperature of gas in B is. So, what they have given, piston A is free to move, whereas piston B is held fixed. That means in A the process that is taking place is isobaric. Free piston means it is isobaric, pressure remains constant. Held fixed means it should be volume constant, so it should be isochoric process. So, for A it is isobaric process. So, heat supplied should be equal to mu Cp delta T or delta theta. So let us say rise in temperature here is theta 1, delta theta 1. So for B, it is isochoric, so volume remains constant, delta Q is equal to mu Cv delta theta 2. Now they have given heat supplied in both the cases is same, that's why equating these two, Cp delta theta 1 is equal to Cv delta theta 2. So Cp is what? 7R by 2 they have given diatomic gas, so Cp is 7R by 2 into change in temperature here is 30, that is given. Cv is 5R by 2, change in temperature we don't know, that is what we have to calculate. So 2 get cancelled, R get cancelled, so we get 7 into 30, that is 210 is equal to 5 delta theta 2. So delta theta 2 is equal to 42 Kelvin. Since it is rising temperature, it can be 42 Kelvin or 42 degree Celsius, both are one and the same. So that is option D. With that we'll move on to next one. If for hydrogen Cp minus Cv is equal to m, and for nitrogen Cp minus Cv is equal to n, where Cp and Cv refer to specific heat per unit mass at constant pressure and constant volume, the relation between m and n is given. Molecular weight of hydrogen is 2, molecular weight of nitrogen is 14. So for hydrogen, Cp minus Cv is equal to m, so molecular weight is equal to 2, let us call it as m1. For nitrogen, Cp minus Cv is equal to n, molecular weight of this is 14. Now for hydrogen, Cp minus Cv is equal to 1 by m1 into dq by dt, that should be equal to m. Similarly for nitrogen, Cp minus Cv should be equal to 1 by m2 into dq by dt, that should be equal to n. So divide these two. So if I divide these two equations, m by n should be equal to m2 by m1, that is equal to 14 by 2, that is 7. So this implies m is equal to 7 times n. So this should be the answer. That is option C. Okay, we shall proceed further. two cylinders of same diameter, one of iron and other of silver, are placed in close contact as shown in figure. If the thermal conductivity of silver is 11 times that of iron, the temperature of the interface is approximately. So, clearly in the diagram, heat flows in this direction. This is at higher temperature, this is at lower temperature. So, since area of cross section of both of them is same and heat is flowing first through iron and then through silver, so heat current through them must be same. So, just equate the heat current. So, current through iron is Kf into A into 100 minus theta. Let us say theta is the junction temperature divided by D, that should be equal to thermal conductivity of silver Ag into A into theta minus other temperature is 0. See, here it is 100, here it is 0, this let it be theta. So, 100 minus theta for iron, theta minus 0 for silver. Notice one thing, heat current flows in this direction. So, given that thermal conductivity of silver is 11 times that of iron, so this divided by D, D is same for both, D gets cancelled, A gets cancelled. So, Kag is 11 times Kf, substitute that, Kf into 100 minus theta is equal to 11 times Kf into theta minus 0. So, Kf get cancelled, 100 minus theta is equal to 11 theta. So, 12 theta is equal to 100. So, theta is equal to 100 by 12, that is 8.3 degree Celsius. That should be option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Two rods of equal length and area of cross section are kept parallel and locked between temperatures 20 degrees Celsius and 80 degrees Celsius. Ratio of effective thermal conductivity to that of the first rod is, the ratio K1 by K2 is 3:4. So, K1 by K2 is given, it is 3:4. You have to find the ratio of effective thermal conductivity to that of first rod. So, here they have given two rods are kept in parallel. So, this is one and another one is this. So, they are of equal length and equal area. So, this has thermal conductivity K1, this has thermal conductivity K2. So, this side the temperature is, let us say 20, here it is 80. So, heat flows in this direction. So, ratio of effective thermal conductivity to that of the first rod is. So, these two rods are in parallel. So, effective thermal conductivity, let it be K, K should be equal to K1 plus K2 divided by 2. So, this is effective conductivity. Now, they have given that K1 by K2 is equal to 3:4. So, K1 by K2 is equal to 3 by 4. So, this implies K1 is equal to 3 by 4 times K2, or K2 is equal to 4 by 3 times K1. So, substitute that here, K is equal to K1 plus 4 by 3 K1 divided by 2, that is equal to 7 K1 by 6. This is K. What we want is K by K1, that is equal to 7 by 6. So that is option B. Yes, with that we'll move on to next one. The amount of heat energy radiated by a metal at temperature T is E. When the temperature is increased to 3T, energy radiated is. So we know that energy radiated by a body is, if I call it as some E, it is proportional to T to the power 4. So if T is made 3T, then energy becomes 3 to the power 4 times E. So 3 to the power 4 is 81. So it should be 81 E. That is option A. So this is in accordance with your Stephen's law. Yes, we shall move on to next one. If a black body emits 0.5 joules of energy per second when it is at 27 degrees Celsius, then amount of energy emitted by it when it is at 627 degree Celsius will be. See, first temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. First convert it to Kelvin because the law is valid at Kelvin temperature. So it will become 300 Kelvin. So final temperature is 627 degrees Celsius, that is 900 Kelvin. So here again temperature is made 3 times. So from the previous problem, if temperature is made 3 times, energy becomes 3 to the power 4 times. So 3 to the power 4 is 81 E. So E dash is equal to 81 E. E is given 0.5, so it should be 81 into 0.5, that is 40.5 joule per second. That is option C. Yes, we should move on to next one. A body cools from 60 degrees to 50 degrees Celsius in 10 minutes. If room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, assuming Newton's law of cooling to hold good, the temperature of the body at the end of next 10 minutes will be. So this is based on Newton's law of cooling. So according to Newton's law of cooling, d theta by dt is proportional to theta minus theta naught, where theta naught is surrounding temperature. So for the first case they have given it cools from 60 to 50 in 10 minutes. That should be proportional to average temperature between 60 and 50 is 55 minus surrounding temperature is 25. So this implies 60 minus 50 is 10, 10 by 10, this is 1, is proportional to, this will be 30. Or you can write 1 is equal to some constant k into 30. So, call it as equation 1. Now, further in next 10 minutes how much it will cool to? Let us say it will cool to a temperature x. So, starting temperature is 50 minus x divided by 10 minutes, that should be equal to k into, see, average of 50 and x is 50 plus x divided by 2 minus surrounding temperature is still 25. So, this is what you will get. Now, simplify this. 50 minus x divided by 10 is equal to k into 25 plus x by 2 minus 25. So, that will give you 50 minus x by 10 is equal to k into, look at this, 25 get cancelled, you will be left with only x by 2. So, we need to eliminate k to get x. So, 2 1s are 2 5s are, cross multiply, 50 minus x is equal to 5 k x. So, k is equal to what? K into 30 is 1, which implies k is equal to 1 by 30. You can substitute that here, you will get 50 minus x is equal to 5 into 1 by 30 into x. So, 5 into 1 by 30 is 1 by 6. So, 50 minus x is equal to x by 6. So, cross multiply, 300 minus 6x is equal to x. So, 7x equals 300. So, x will be equal to 300 by 7. So, that is 42.85 degree Celsius. We shall move on to next one. One of the most efficient engines, overdeveloped, operates between 2100 Kelvin and 700 Kelvin. Its actual efficiency is 40%. What percentage of its maximum possible efficiency is this efficiency? So, theoretically there will be some efficiency. What percentage of that is this 40%? That is what we have to calculate. So, first calculate theoretical efficiency of the engine. So, that is eta is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. So, that will be 1 minus 700 divided by 2100, that is 1 minus 1 by 3. So, that is 2 by 3. So, in percentage we have to multiply it by 100. So, that will be 66%. So, this is theoretical efficiency, but actual is 40%. So, this 40% is how many, what percentage of 66 is 40%, that is what they are asking. So, clearly, so actual is 60% of theoretical efficiency. See, 10% of 66 is 6.6, 20% is 13.2, 30% is 19.8, and so on. So, 60% is around 40%. So, actual efficiency is 60% of the theoretical efficiency. So that is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. 70 calorie of heat is required to raise the temperature of 2 moles of ideal gas at constant pressure from 30 to 35 degree Celsius. The amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the same gas through same range at constant volume is. So, initially it is heated at constant pressure. So, Q1 is equal to mu Cp dt, that is given to be 70 calories. Now, when it is heated at constant volume, heat supplied is Q2. Q2 is equal to mu Cv dt. So, this we have to calculate how much it is. So, Q2 by Q1 is equal to Cv by Cp. Or Q2 is equal to Cv by Cp into Q1, that is equal to Cv by Cp is 1 by gamma for the gas, 1 by gamma, Cp by Cv is gamma, Cv by Cp is 1 by gamma into 70. So, Q2 is equal to 1 divided by gamma is 7 by 5 for diatomic gas into 70. So, that will be 50 calories. So, 50 calories is option D. As we shall move on to next one. The ratio of radii of two spheres of same specific heat is 1:4. Then the ratio of their heat capacities will be. So, ratio of the radii is given 1:4. We need to find ratio of their heat capacities. So, R1 is to R2 is 1:4. So, we need to find ratio of heat capacities. So, further what they have given, specific heat capacities is same. So, C1 is to C2 is 1:1. So, they have given same specific heat. So, heat capacity of 1 divided by heat capacity 2 should be equal to M1 C1 divided by M2 C2. that should be equal to 4 by 3 pi r1 cube divided by 4 by 3 pi r2 cube. This gives you volume into density, same material, so density will be same, then specific heats both are equal. So you will be left with r1 by r2 whole cube. So radii ratio is given 1:4, so it is 1:4 whole cube, that is 1 by 64. That is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A Carnot's engine operates with source at 127 degrees Celsius and sink at 27 degrees Celsius. If source supplies 40 kilojoule of heat energy, work done by the engine is. So T1 is given, it is 127 degrees Celsius, that means 400 Kelvin. T2 is given 27 degrees Celsius, that means 300 Kelvin. Don't forget to convert it to Kelvin, otherwise formula will be wrong. So heat supplied per cycle is 40 kilojoule. So work output we have to calculate. So we know that eta is W by Q1, that is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. So W is equal to Q1 into 1 minus T2 by T1. That should be 40 into 1 minus 300 by 400. That will be 40 into, so this will be 3 by 4, 1 minus 3 by 4 is 1 by 4. So that gives you 10 kilojoule. That is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. 2 moles of argon are mixed with 1 mole of hydrogen. Then Cp by Cv of the mixture is nearly. See, argon is inert gas, so it should be monoatomic. Hydrogen is diatomic. So we need to calculate Cp by Cv of the mixture. So Cv of the mixture is equal to m1 Cv1 plus m2 Cv2 divided by m1 plus m2, or you can express it in terms of moles, n1 Cv1 plus n2 Cv2 divided by n1 plus n2. So that should be equal to number of moles, so better to take it in moles only. Okay, let us take this in moles only, that will be more convenient in this problem. So n1 Cv1 plus n2 Cv2 divided by n1 plus n2. So n1 is 2 moles of argon. For argon, Cv is 3 by 2 R because it is monoatomic, plus n2 is 1 mole of hydrogen. Hydrogen is diatomic, that is 5 by 2 R divided by 2 plus 1 is 3. So that turns out to be, this is 6 by 2, this is 5 by 2. So it will become 11 by 2. So it will be 11 by 6 R. This is CV of mixture. So Cp of mixture according to your Mayer's equation should be Cv of mixture plus R, that should be 11 by 6 R plus R. So that turns out to be 17 by 6 R. So Cp by Cv of mixture, that should be equal to gamma of mixture, that should be this divided by this, R and 6 get cancelled, it will be 17 by 11, that is 1.54. That should be option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. If two ends of length L, two rods of length L and 2L having coefficient of linear expansion alpha and 2 alpha respectively are connected end on end, average coefficient of linear expansion of the composite rod is. So there are two rods, this is one rod of length L, linear coefficient of expansion alpha. Then there is another rod connected end to end, length is 2L, coefficient of expansion is 2 alpha. Now equivalent coefficient of expansion I have to take. So for that I have to take a single rod of equivalent length of both of them, that should be of length 3L. Let us say its effective coefficient of expansion is alpha effective. So whatever happens to this, same thing should happen to this. So now the expansion of composite rod should be expansion of first part plus expansion of second part, and that should be equal to expansion of the equivalent. So expansion of the first part is when rise in temperature is delta theta, L alpha delta theta is expansion of first rod, plus the second rod is 2L into 2 alpha into delta theta. So these two put together should be equal to expansion of the equivalent rod, 3L into alpha effective into delta theta. So throughout L gets cancelled, then delta theta get cancelled, we are left with alpha plus 2 2s are 4 alpha is equal to 3 alpha effective. So 5 alpha is equal to 3 alpha effective. So alpha effective is equal to 5 by 3 alpha. So that should be option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. 4 kg of ice at minus 15 degrees are added to 5 kg of water at 15 degree Celsius. The temperature of the resulting mixture equals. So when water at 15 degrees Celsius gets converted to water at 0 degrees Celsius. Let us see what will be the heat released. So, heat released by water is Q is equal to ms delta theta, that is equal to 5 kg of water, that is 5000 grams. Specific heat of water in calories is 1 calorie per gram. Change in temperature is 15. So, this turns out to be 75,000 calories. This much heat is released by water. So, specific heat of or latent heat of ice is 80. So, due to this released heat, mass of ice that melts is m is equal to Q by latent heat of fusion. So, that should be equal to 75,000 divided by 80. So, that should be equal to 937.5 gram. So, you have taken 4 kg of ice and only 937 gram of ice will melt. So, whole ice will not melt, hence resulting temperature is 0 degrees only. So, that is option B. Whole of the ice is not going to melt. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Density of a substance at 0 degree Celsius is 10 gram per cc, and at 100 degree Celsius its density is 9.7 gram per cc. Coefficient of linear expansion of the substance will be. So, you need to find coefficient of linear expansion of the substance. They have given densities. So, density variation is related to volume expansion coefficient gamma. So, gamma is equal to delta rho divided by rho delta t or delta theta. So, that should be equal to rho 1 minus rho 2 divided by rho 1 into theta 2 minus theta 1. This will give you gamma. So, substitute it is 10 minus 9.7 divided by 10 into change in temperature is 100 minus 0. So, that will give you 3 into 10 to the power minus 4. This is the value of gamma. So, alpha is gamma by 3. So, that will be 3 into 10 power minus 4 divided by 3, that is 1 into 10 to the power minus 4 per degree Celsius. So, that should be option C. So, we shall move on to next one. If the ratio of specific heat of gas at constant pressure to that at constant volume is gamma, the change in internal energy of a mass of gas when volume changes from V to 2V at constant pressure P is. So we need to calculate change in internal energy of the gas. So we know that change in internal energy of the gas, delta U is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus gamma into P2 V2 minus P1 V1. So delta U is equal to P2 is P, V2 is 2V, volume is doubled at constant pressure. So this must be P into V divided by 1 minus gamma. So that turns out to be 2 PV minus PV is PV divided by 1 minus gamma. This should be change in internal energy. So that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. We consider a thermodynamic system if delta U represents increase in its internal energy and W the work done by the system. Which of the following statements is true? Delta U is equal to minus W in adiabatic process. Delta U is equal to W in an isothermal process. Delta U is equal to minus W in isothermal process. Delta U is equal to W in an adiabatic process. So according to first law of thermodynamics, delta Q is equal to delta U plus delta W. So in isothermal process, delta U is 0. So none of the options match. So isothermal process is a wrong answer. We have to check for only adiabatic process. In adiabatic process, delta Q is equal to 0. 0 is equal to delta U plus delta W. So clearly delta U is equal to minus delta W, or you can take it as simply W only. That is for adiabatic process. That is option A. Okay, we shall move on to next one. Work done by 0.1 mole of gas at 27 degrees Celsius to double its volume at constant pressure is given R is equal to 2 calorie per mole per Kelvin. So we have to calculate it in calories. So in constant pressure, that is isobaric process, work done is P delta V. So that should be equal to P into 2V minus V. So double the volume. So that should be PV. But we know that PV is equal to mu RT. So mu is 0.1 moles. R is given 2 and temperature is given 27 degrees Celsius. That means 300 Kelvin. So 600 into 0.1, that is 60 calories. This is the work done. So that is option B. This we shall move on to next one. During the adiabatic expansion of 2 moles of a gas, internal energy of the gas is found to decrease by 2 joule. Then work done during the process on the gas will be equal to. So in adiabatic process, delta Q is equal to 0. So from first law of thermodynamics, delta Q is equal to delta U plus delta W. So this term is 0. So you'll get delta W is equal to minus delta U, or delta W is equal to So internal energy of the gas is found to decrease by 2 joules. So it is decreased, so it is minus delta U. So delta U should be minus 2. So minus of minus 2 is 2 joule. So work done on the gas is 2 joule. So the decrease in internal energy is minus 2. So you notice one thing, this minus is from formula and this minus comes from convention. So decrease in U is taken as negative, increase in U is taken as positive. So it should be option D. So it should be plus 2 joules, not minus 2 joules, because they have given how much work is done on the gas. So work done on the gas, by default it will be negative. So here work done on the gas is 2 joules. 2 joule of work is done on the gas means, so work done by the gas is minus 2 joules. So here they have asked for on the gas only, so it should be option D, not option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A perfect gas goes from state A to another state B by absorbing 8 into 10 power 5 joule of heat and doing 6.5 into 10 to the power 5 joule of external work. It is now transferred between the same two states in another process 1, in which it absorbs 10 to the power 5 joule of heat. Then in the second process, work done on the gas is 0.5 into 10 power 5, work done by the gas is 0.5 into 10 power 5, work done on the gas is 10 power 5, work done by the gas is 10 power 5. So apply first law of thermodynamics. du is equal to dq minus dw. Whatever the path followed is, internal energy change should be same. So in the first case, heat supplied is 8 into 10 to the power 5 minus work done is 6.5 into 10 power 5. So that will be equal to 1.5 into 10 to the power 5 joule. This is du. This is for first process. So in the second case, dw is equal to dq minus du. So heat absorbed is 10 to the power 5. du is 1.5 into 10 to the power 5. So that will give you minus 0.5 into 10 to the power 5 joule. So negative sign indicates that work done is on the gas. So work done is on the gas, so it should be option A. Work done on the gas is 0.5 into 10 power 5 joule. As we shall move on to next one. During an adiabatic process, the pressure of a gas is found to be proportional to cube of its absolute temperature. Ratio of Cp by Cv for the gas is. So they have given it's an adiabatic process. For adiabatic process, P is proportional to T to the power gamma divided by gamma minus 1, and also it is given that P is proportional to cube of temperature. So comparing these two, what do we get? Gamma divided by gamma minus 1 is equal to 3. So you need to find gamma. So gamma is equal to 3 gamma minus 3. So 3 is equal to 2 gamma, gamma is equal to 3 by 2. So that is option A. Let's we shall want to next one. Temperature of sink of a Carnot engine is 27 degrees Celsius. If efficiency of engine is 25%, then temperature of the source must be. So efficiency is given 25%, that is 0.25. Can write it as 1 by 4. T2 is given, sink temperature is 27 degree Celsius, converted to Kelvin, that is 300 Kelvin. So I need to find source temperature. So direct question, eta is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. So 1 by 4 is equal to 1 minus 300 by T1. So 300 by T1 is equal to 1 minus 1 by 4, that is 3 by 4. So 300 by T1 is equal to 3 by 4. So T1 is equal to 400 Kelvin. 400 Kelvin means it is 127 degree Celsius. So that should be option B. As we shall move on to next one. A system is taken from state A to state B along two different paths 1 and 2. The heat absorbed and work done by the system along these two paths are Q1, Q2 and W1, W2 respectively. Then Q1 is equal to Q2, W1 is equal to W2, Q1 minus W1 is equal to Q2 minus W2, Q1 plus W1 is equal to Q2 plus W2. See, the system is taken between same two states. So then in that case, whatever the path you follow, state 1 to or state A to state B. So whatever the path you follow, internal energy should be same. Change in internal energy must be same. Internal energy is a state function, Q and W are not. So delta U along first path should be equal to delta U along second path. So delta U along first path must be Q1 minus W1, delta U along second path is Q2 minus W2. So these two must be equal. So that must be option C. So it must be option C. So that completes problems on heat and thermodynamics. Thank you.